This is Grow by Design. Are you a business owner struggling with the direction of your company? Do you hesitate, wanting things to be perfect before you take action? Do you question your strength as a leader? If you answer yes to any of these questions, this is the show for you.
All right, everybody, we are back again with my good friend, Michael Tandarich. He is marketing and now involved in accounting, and he's a wealth of knowledge on all things. So, dude, thank you so much for coming on today. Introduce yourself, brother.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, we've been working together for years. I know I've been on the podcast a couple times, spoke in GROW Comm, spoke at Training Day. But yeah, I always enjoy hanging out with you. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Tandarich. I run a marketing agency. I live up in northern Michigan. We do custom websites and digital ads for clients. And a lot of those clients are within the home service industries, have a lot of experience on growing and scaling home service businesses, which leads into the accounting firm and part of why I purchased that business to do all the marketing and advertising for that. So.
Heck yeah. Well, how is accounting taking off for you?
It's great. I was looking at originally purchasing, either a landscape company, an accounting firm, or a plumbing company, mainly because I wanted to, obviously right now we pick up marketing clients through my marketing agency, but I wanted to start building out a portfolio of businesses that I bought where the marketing agency runs the advertising and marketing and branding and everything for those companies I purchased. Yeah. So the accounting firm I figured is a good first step. It's not going anywhere. Everyone needs accounting. And so we'll see which one I purchase next.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's lots of variables still, but just objectively trying to look at it, it seems like there's less wild variables than there would be. Like you bite that off and then bite off the service industry landscape business style thing after. Yeah. So you've already handled some of the variables, and then
exactly.
Now you can throw in having a bunch of staff out in the field on top of that as well.
And I figured too, you have the marketing side, which brings in the leads, but then you have the accounting side, which handles the bookkeeping and payroll and all that kind of good stuff for all the other businesses. So yeah, kind of building up the empire.
They're all kind of like vertically integrated type of deal. And I like that.
Correct.
One helps the other. So that's very cool.
Yeah.
Well, so to kind of kick it off, and I've been talking to a lot of people about like their goals for this year or last year, talking about all these different things. What's going to be the biggest change you're making for your business or your life or your fitness or anything for 2025?
Yeah. So the biggest change for me going into 2025 is the processes. Right. So right now I'm very almost call it like ADD about stuff. Playing whack-a-mole, basically.
Yeah.
Starting the year, I've been very focused on getting processes put into place. Like, what can I outsource to other employees? What can I have processed where it's like, instead of having my emails open all the time, like it's, hey, you're only looking at emails twice a day, like 9 a.m. and 2 or something like that, with the goal of being able to accomplish more because you have all these processes in place where you have better time management. So that's a big thing I'm focusing on. And then the other thing, 2024 was a big year in terms of just like taking next huge step forwards, right? Purchasing an accounting firm, bought Airbnbs, like all that kind of stuff. So this year is really just dialing all that kind of in so it runs smoothly.
Okay. I love that. I love that getting the process down because it kind of reminds me. I talk to Gene about this a lot. Gene gets a lot of ideas and he's bouncing all over the place. And I'm like,
yeah.
Gene, we're just going to create guardrails. So like the guardrails on your life, like in the email thing's a great one. I'm pretty good because I just don't care. I'm pretty bad, but I just don't care about my email. It's really not a good way to communicate with me because I'm cool with just not looking at it for 5 days. And then then I'll sit down and process, 400 emails and mainly just file 99% of them away anyway and not even open them. But yeah, having those guardrails to the things to keep you freaking from getting way off in the weeds in every single little thing. Because like you said, like playing whack-a-mole, it's very easy to just, what fire's burning the hottest? Okay, cool. I'm going to go do that.
Correct. Yeah. And not spending the time on what actually grows the business. Like it's the 80-20 rule. You're spending 80% of your time growing only 20% of the business, and it needs to be flipped, where you're spending, Yeah, and that's a big issue for me too. Is like it's just all day playing whack-a-mole, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know this is a book you've read, but the Dan Martell one of Buy Back Your Time, like the
I
big one
love
that
that book.
it's a fantastic. It's like I know we kind of talked about this at training day, but like it's like a workbook almost. It reads like a book and it looks like a book, but it's like a workbook. Yeah, the one of the first steps he talks in there is about getting an assistant to like handle things like your emails. And not at that step yet. I know I need to get at that step. It's just pulling the trigger, but but it just makes sense to be able to do that, to be able to have more dialed in time.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny that like I used to farm out. I think that's why I don't care about it as much because I farmed my
Hmm.
email out so much that up until I moved to Florida and then I had to have some control of it again, I didn't manage my email or send messages
That's
out of my
awesome.
email. It was always everybody else. And but then everybody else's email got so inundated as well and they had their own role that no longer could they like answer mine also.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You know, and ultimately I try to filter mine to where it's like most stuff that comes to me is pretty irrelevant.
Hmm.
Unless it's like a big financial like information accounting thing with like some deal.
Yeah,
It's pretty
yeah,
minimized. It's pretty
yeah.
minimized. Well, I love that. So those will be kind of the big tweaks for 2025. What were some of the, and you mentioned that like you made some of these steps in 24. What were some of the biggest challenges in 2024?
Yeah. I think the two big challenges was um, on my personal side, there was a lot invested into things. Right? So, like I said, accounting firm, Airbnb, my own marketing agency business. Whenever you're investing in things, you're almost like um, contracting before you can expand again. And so um, that felt very much so in 2024. There's just a lot of contracting to like bring everything in so you can invest in that stuff and scale it. But I think the other thing too is I think we started to hit the tail end of like a potentially bad economy or a bad
Hmm.
economy. And I was seeing clients drop off a lot because of just random things. And so, yeah, I think that was another big thing in 2024. I mean, we literally had a client drop off just because it's like, yeah, this isn't a economy, but it was just like we scaled their business so much that we sold them out of all their inventory. So they were sold out for like
Yeah.
4 to 6 months. And then they were just kind of like, all right, well, we need I don't know. I don't even know what their reasoning was, but I'm like on
You did
paper we're
so
doing
great
great.
that now we can't even get more clients in right now because we can't service any of them. So we'll come back
Exactly.
around once we're ready to go round
Yeah,
two.
so there was a lot of random stuff like that happened in 2024 too. So
Okay.
it was definitely an interesting year. How about you?
I mean, for me, as far as biggest struggles, challenges in 2024, I think it was just a combination of the economy and a
Hmm.
combination of an election that everybody acts like they need to be on a holding pattern until it's over because it's going to
Yeah.
change some wild thing in their life. And with that, like I just feel like things moved a little slower and there was less activity overall because people just had so much scarcity and uncertainty of what was going on. And even though when you look at it, it's like it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter what
Hmm.
side goes or how it happens because ultimately you're going to still live. And so, and you're going to continue making these decisions. But I think the accumulation of those things, as much as I hate to give them much light, and then and when I look at the marketing budget actually reduced last year, maybe it was just out of like scarcity we did that. I don't think that we meant to do that because I'm always trying to do the next new thing. But with all of those, we had a much more lull, not growing year. And that was kind of a struggle for our business because our business is pretty designed to continue just growing up and continuing replacing old stuff and scaling and adding to the team. And when you're used to just adding, it kind of led to the situation where I've heard more than one person say it. I had a friend of mine say they needed to right size their business because they
Yeah.
were overstaffed and they had this big goal and they just didn't quite make the steps they thought they were going to make. And so unfortunately they had to let people go and reorganize. And so yeah, I think that I anticipated being further ahead than we were. And we had one of our very first years forever that we were just kind of like flatline. You know,
Mm.
it was certain new things we had going on pulling us into a little bit of growth or a little bit of stay even, and our old things kind of just almost just hung right where they were at.
Yeah. 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 And I've seen that a lot across all of our clients. Just a lot of just like 2024 is almost like stagnant, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I
And
think the, good.
I've heard that too. I mean, when you look at training day, it's like small group
Yeah.
of people, but pretty much everybody same thing except for one person said they had a good year. You know? And I've heard that day after day for all kinds of people throughout the course of last year, from light providers, actual wholesale provider that sells us stuff, all the way to tons and tons of other service companies out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it's crazy too, like the psychology of the politics of the economy. It's like you said, it's like at the end of the day, is it really going to affect you? No. But it's like everyone thinks that, and then everyone acts a certain way because of it, you know? So it's interesting.
Well, and it's not like it isn't. Okay, so I agree it could affect you, but ultimately is what you're actually going to do with your life going to change,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
policies and things are going to change. And maybe you hate that. Like maybe you hate the directions it's went and some of the changes that get made, but ultimately you're not going to like stop. One, you know, there's going to be a very, very infinitesimal portion of people who actually leave the country,
Hmm.
even though people act like they're going to do that. So if you're not part of that little tiny fraction of a group, you're people that are still going to live here. And even if you don't love what's going on, you still got to live your life. And you're just going to give away 4 years of your life. And that's what everybody ends up doing. They end
Yeah,
up
yeah.
getting through this holding pattern of where everybody's so frustrated by media and the market and the news. And then they're like, oh, well, it's over. And I'm very unhappy, but still had that renovation I needed to do.
Hmm.
Still need to start up that new marketing, get marketing budget set up with Michael for this season for our ads and so on and so forth.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's the big difference between like the winners and the losers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like winners just take whatever scenario they're in, whether like it's there's a storm going on or it's like an abundant season, and they're just constantly pushing, you know,
Yeah.
and it might be pushing harder, you know, in certain seasons, but that's like the difference between the loser and winner mentality is what do you do with it, you know?
Yeah, what do you do with it? And then I also think that what's your staying power, right? Because the thumbs up, I don't know. But I got to figure out how to turn that off. I hate that for
Yeah.
video. But the staying power, what is the staying
Yeah.
power someone has? Because, you know, even worse than not putting your foot on the pedal or anything else, it's like to put your tail in between your legs and run, you know? So a lot of times, maybe you don't even make progress, but you're still there where a lot
Hmm.
of other people fell off. So now all of a sudden your potential to have more market share, whatever the case may be, is bigger, not because you did anything super crazy. You just hung in there and gritted it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So, okay, outside of all of those things, what, seeing that you're, in marketing, they got the accounting stuff going on, all these different little pieces starting to get into real estate. What do you think the next 5 years looks like for Michael and the
Yeah.
business and all the things?
Yeah. 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 Couple different things. So I have the marketing agency, accounting firm, real estate, which will all be growing. I've also started to step into doing more like digital things. I know I'm like in that industry and I'm like years behind, so it is what it is. But putting out YouTube videos, I've had multiple clients within the marketing agency where we've helped one get to like 1 million subscribers on their YouTube channel. We have one currently where they're at 130K subscribers on their YouTube channel. They started at zero. And so taking that and going, okay, you know, moving forward in the space that I'm in. So each business is different, but like in the spaces I'm in, the digital, having a digital presence, like is huge, you know, and just over the last few weeks, I've grown my YouTube channel to about 1,200 subscribers. I'm already bringing in leads for my businesses.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So building that more up, maybe having some kind of platform like GROW Comm, where it's just specific to marketing and advertising. So looking at that on the personal side, working on, I have a custom house that we're going to be building in the back lot of my
Okay.
property. We live on 13 acres. So yeah, getting that built out. And then I got a whole list of exotic sports cars that I need to start buying. So
Okay. That's awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome.
that's,
Well,
that's what's going to be happening.
so now that we're talking about the digital stuff, I'm glad I could be wrong and I'm still fresh into it, but I really do think that this whole Riverside thing could be useful for even YouTube shooting,
Yeah,
just to
completely.
to help all those pieces. But the direction you're going, and I think that's something we leaned into even over the last couple of years, is just that digital presence, right?
Yeah.
And I'm becoming more aware that like I'm still not willing to like, I don't want it to necessarily, I guess I would love to shoot content 24/7 and talk to people and talk about business
Yeah.
and whatever, but that's not my day job at this point. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's just
Mm-hmm.
like I want to try to add and get and help other people and bring stuff that will make their life better. But I've realized the importance of like all this content out there, you know, and
Correct. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
bandwidth, even if it's small, of the connection that's gained from that. Like we just had someone come into the office that they applied straight through the website, which is our best like job applications. And he actually came in later that day and just stopped by and talked to some people in the office, actual interview. And he found us on YouTube.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we've had multiple employees that didn't just interview, but they also saw either the company, or if they started looking at it, they saw everything. They saw there was the company. They saw that I have my personal one. They saw that there is, you know, the podcast and all these things that tie together. And I just, yeah, whether it's leads or employees, which are another form of lead, like it's so important. And you brought up something that you've helped some people grow, like just focusing on somehow or just continuously chipping away and having that staying power for that. What do you feel like, since you're growing yours and you've helped others do it, like say a YouTube channel, because that's something you've
Yeah.
been focusing on a lot, right?
Yeah. Yep. Yep. So the first thing I would say too, just about the digital space, right, is like I had a friend come up to me at my daughter's basketball game this past weekend. And he was like, "Hey man, like I saw that you were in Austin, like at the F1 race, like hanging out. Like that's awesome." And it's like I don't talk to him like outside of at the
Yeah.
basketball game, but he knows what's going on
Yep.
in my life because of that, you know? And I like growing up, like I was very much like you just tell people about your life and that's how they find out about it. And so your friends
Yeah.
know about it. But like
Yep.
people finding out about what you've got going on or like how you interact or all that kind of stuff just because of social media is huge, right? So there's that. But the second thing is getting kind of in the gritty a little bit with YouTube. It's dependent heavily on like what your plan is for your business, right? So like if you're trying to build some kind of digital platform or like an audience around you, YouTube is fantastic to, you know, have a ton of subscribers, make sure you're doing keyword research, right, and all that kind of stuff. But if you have like a landscaping business or, you know, some kind of local business, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing the YouTube. It means like there's just a different strategy with it. Don't be so focused on like, hey, how many subscribers do I have? Or I'm trying to like put out videos like to motivate people or whatever. YouTube is like the second largest search platform after Google, and Google owns it. So whenever someone types in, and for those of you listening to podcasts, you can do this, but like landscaper in Cape Coral, right? Jacob has multiple videos where he has the title literally landscaper in Cape Coral, which is the keyword that people are typing in, and has a whole video around it. So when potential employees or potential clients are looking for a landscaper in Cape Coral, his videos pop up under the video tab. As they scroll through, his face is on everything and on the videos. And so that's just a very, very easy way to take over that Google search space with something that's completely free, you know, and it just takes the time of talking about it, making sure you're just doing the right titles, you know, lawn care in Cape Coral, landscape lighting, you know, go through the whole list, make a bunch of videos. And like they'll all rank, you know, and it's super, super easy to do it because your competition's not doing it. And so if they're not doing it, it's super easy to rank for those. So
since we've actually got video, which I love that this video is probably it should be crystal clear. I've already demoed this quite a few times, but I figured I would just look that up while we're looking at it. I don't know how well that's going to focus.
There you go.
But this is just searching. Oh no, I'm going to click on landscaper Cape Coral, Florida, and this is just the top of the videos. And as you go, we own like there's our supply yard, but we own every single spot. I mean, like really, you can just almost you can just go forever. And that's like you said. I had to bring that up because it's cool to be able to show that in this context and see like that the supply yard has one video. And I guarantee, you know, if we actually, to proof out what I'm about to say here, because I don't know, maybe I've watched it way back in the day, your competition will be a promo. And I'm freaking right. It'll be a promo and it'll be, and I'm not knocking them, this is fine, but this is what it'll be. It will be something that Do we even have audio? What's going on here? Well, I feel like I should cut that out because I'm not trying to talk about everybody else, and they won't care. I don't mean this in a negative way by any means either. But the point here is this is a 23-second video. And it is great to have a good introduction in something like this that ties all of that together. But beyond that, having something more in depth, and I see this everywhere. If you look in Springfield, Illinois, it's the same way. Like the other videos are a video with not even the owner or anybody else in the company, and like audio playing over it of someone saying this. It's just it's an ad. It's like very weird.
Yeah.
There's no real connection. It's just a voiceover. It's not even anything to do with the business. It's like, hey, this company does this. They're the best at da. Please call them at this. And that's all it is.
Yep. And it's like people like working with people, and so if you're the owner and you're putting out a bunch of videos, or maybe it's not the owner, maybe it's a bunch, like you select a couple of employees at your company that does it, and you're just going through and creating videos that are specific to these keywords. So landscaper in your location, a landscape lighting in your location, and those are the titles of the videos, dude, you're just taking over Google, and it's completely free.
Yep. Yeah. And now with the tools and things possible out there to just create content, make it easier. I mean, even before me and you were talking about this platform that we're recording on right now, but even before that, like just looking at the voice transcribers, the AI tools that can then take that to transcription and give you at least ideas or a short, brief video description, because I know that all these little pieces look daunting, and there's so many tools to help this stuff be easier for you or expedite a process. Kind of back to the beginning, having a process, right? But with that, I think this leads into kind of what we were talking about. I was going to say, is one of my questions was going to be, how do you think more people can win this year in 2025? And you brought up a great thing that I think we should just get right into and really go deep on, is generating leads, how to generate leads, how to fill your pipeline, because we know that was a major pain point at training day. And I know that most people will always say, no one, this is kind of like if I'm at a meeting with a company and I say, who wants to make more money by show of hands? And everybody will raise their hand. Well, for all the business owners out there, if you say who wants to make more or have more leads by show of hands, no one's going to not raise their hands.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, this is the fun part of the talk for me, or the conversation. Going back to YouTube really quick. When you're creating those videos, just pull up your phone, right? Outside of your project. Like, let's say you just did landscape lighting. Talk about it for like 5 minutes on the video. Put like a thumbnail together on Canva and then just put it up on YouTube. There's processes that you can do that are, more complicated, and, you can get like a really nice camera and all that kind of stuff. But when you're just trying to get started on that stuff and it's free, just crank it out on your video, upload it, quick Canva thumbnail, put the right title in, and you're good to go. And just crank out a bunch of those. So I would say, like, number one thing, if I was like, hey, let's get started like today on something that's free to bring in leads, I would say start cranking out those YouTube videos, 20 to 40 of them, right? So I know that might take a little bit of time, but just get through as many of those as you can, just so you overwhelm the Google search. The other piece too, talked about this a little bit at training day, but there's also kind of like a hack that you can do with Reddit, right? So on Google also will promote forums or Reddit posts that are about specific things, right? So go on Reddit, find a local subreddit for your area, right? So in Jacob's scenario, subreddit for Cape Coral. Go in there with a personal account and just type in like, hey, I'm looking for a local landscaper, who's the best? And just hit enter. Then log back in as Scooters and be like, hey, we would love to work with you, blah, blah, blah. And then like a day or two later, go back in as that personal account and put like edit, semicolon, I ended up going with Scooters. They've been great, blah, blah. Putting that out there is a free, basically, advertisement that you can put out on Google, right? Where, because you've specifically typed in landscaper and Cape Coral, that's the keyword, and Google's going to start pushing that, right? So now you've got your videos out there for free. You got this subreddit post out there for free. There's stuff like doing, blog posts and stuff, but the SEO value of that's a lot harder to rank right now. Yeah. The YouTube stuff, like you could literally do a video and do the keyword and title and have that probably ranked within like 24 hours. So,
Wow.
and the Reddit thing too. So like those things are like quick, like get them in that spot. The next stuff for me too, after going through a bunch of that kind of free stuff, would be to start getting into the paid stuff. So the hierarchy for me is the Google local service ads. They show up first. After that, you do Google search ads. Then I would start exploring things like Bing ads or Facebook ads. But the reason I put Google local service ads first, Jacob knows where
I'm
I'm
only
going with
laughing
it.
because I'm, dragging my feet and going slow on things that I should already have done.
No, you're good, dude. You're good. So the reason Google local service ads is great is because you can get into those very first spots, and it's just predicated on you answering the phone calls and marking them properly and all that kind of stuff. It's not just you're paying to be in those spots. And then on top of that, you also pay per lead, right? So if a lead comes in and the AI listens through it and you listen through it and it is a potential lead, they'll charge you for it. But if it's someone
Okay.
that's like looking for a job or something like that, you can dispute it and get that money back. It's great because you're basically just paying for a potential lead. Of course, you get some in there that like they aren't, but the AI is going to listen through it and think it is. But, yeah, I love that platform because of that. You're not just spitting money out. However, there isn't any way to kind of like force yourself into that spot. It's really just based off of, how you're picking up the phone calls, what your call is like, disputing things, putting images in, all that kind of stuff. So it's really like how you're interacting with the ad platform. It's not about money as much as it is that. There's other hacks with it too, where people make the mistakes of like leaving their business hours as like 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or whatever, and just doing that. And then what happens is after those hours, Google shuts your ad off. But if you run it 24/7, it automatically pushes your ad into the first spot, and then just have your phone on you in case it rings, and that's it. And you get very little calls after hours, but it forces you in that top spot. The next thing is the Google search ads. So that's really good for like very focused keywords, right? So like I know you and I were talking about having your pricing calculator set up. So like having like, hey, get a free quote, get a free like exact quote on your project, and it immediately goes to your pricing calculator landing page. But you're able to target like specific keywords and jam yourself in that spot because you're paying for it.
Yeah.
And then after that is the Bing or Facebook, right? The reason I like Bing, especially in like Jacob's example, he's in Florida. A lot of people that are retired or snowbirds are going down there. For whatever reason, older generations purchase like Microsoft laptops and computers way more, or Android like way more than Macs. I don't know what it is, but like every old person that I know has one of those, and they're already like preset with Bing, right? So they would have to like consciously move over to Google to be able to look over there. It's not like a huge demographic, but the point is that being able to, it's very similar to Google search ads where you're just running ads on Bing, but it's if you're in an area that's like retirement heavy or something along those lines, is great for it. And then the fourth one after that is Facebook. Depending on your area, I'd move it up higher, but the reason I like the Facebook side of it so much is because of the branding piece, right? So if your branding's dialed in, it's a touch point for people to be able to see your stuff, right? And they have to see it multiple times before pulling the trigger. So that's the first thing, is the branding piece. The second piece is like if you want to get super granular and be like crazy about your Facebook ads, you can do things like retargeting ads where they're like come off a Google ad, looked up landscape lighting, and then there's a video of you talking about landscape lighting on Facebook or Instagram. You can target within like a mile radius of a certain location. So if you wanted to blast everyone in that mile location with like mailers and signs and all that kind of stuff, and then just Facebook ads for just them with a specific offer for like that neighborhood, you can do that. It's a little bit more expensive because you're getting so targeted, but you can do that. So there's a lot of really cool techniques on the Facebook side where it's not just like boosting a post or just like running ads. You can get super granular and with the tracking and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's how I would lay out everything to bring in leads. So I know I went a little techie there, but
No, I mean, I like all that. And I think that the only thing that I wanted to, this is just my I want to throw in my 2 cents on the video real quick and then
Yeah.
get your opinion too for everybody. Because I mean, like this alone is just it's really packed with ideas to get rocking and rolling on getting a business going, or you just want more leads in general, right?
Hmm.
The YouTube side of things. For me, what was the biggest shift in 2021 when we started Florida? I read the book They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. It was all based off of giving and creating all the answers via video that your clients may have. So my general take on how to come up with those, I think that what you said could inundate some people of like 40 videos, right?
Hmm.
Oh my God, what are those videos going to be about? And so once I read that book, I realized this is so freaking easy. For one thing, I always shot videos all the time. And yes, it is hard to get started shooting videos because you feel like a dumbass. And the earlier you realize that we're just all a bunch of
Yeah.
dumbasses and we're just doing our thing, like
Floating on a
that.
rock in the middle of space.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
all
just
it
floating on
is.
a rock. But as soon as I realized that the video ideas became very, very infinite as soon as I tied it to what are the questions clients ask. You know, what are the problems they have? This video thing, man, I gotta figure out how to get this crazy shit to stop happening. That's exactly what iPhones do. So
And for those listening on the podcast, there was a bunch of fireworks that just popped up in my
yeah. Yeah. So it's just audio. You're like, what are they talking about? But so the ideas, right? Like we started with our FAQ list on our website. And if you have a website and you don't have an FAQ list, you should do that. That's the frequently asked questions. But so, you know, how long does a project take? How do you do billing? How do you do this? How do you do that? Even on a sales presentation with a client or an appointment, the questions they ask, what are the easiest plants to install? What are the easiest plants to maintain? You know, and I'm just thinking
hmm
landscaping, but it could
hmm
be anything. And so, yeah, I just kind of want to interject my thought of like, once I really started thinking down that line, the ideas were just super freaking infinite because you could literally talk about any service and any question someone might have while then also trying to accumulate and put together all of the problems, the things that come up, the nightmare issues, talk about those too to expose and try to make the process more transparent. So I didn't know if you had any other content that you like to see people create for a service-based business to fuel those ideas on top of that.
Correct. Yeah. So I would prioritize so all those videos you just talked about are great for the website and getting ranking. I would prioritize first, go through all your services and put in whatever your location is. Do all those videos first because those are the SEO ranked videos, right? So like then after that, yeah, go through all your FAQs, still put like landscaping in Cape Coral or whatever at the end of it. So you're still ranking them. Do the FAQs. And the other one I would do too is the testimonial videos that you get from clients. That's another huge one that I would be putting out there too. But make sure that whenever you're doing your videos, Jacob does this great because he's in every single one. So when you go the videos on in Cape or landscaping in Cape Coral, you're seeing Jacob's face on everything. If you're having like customers talking or other employees or something, just make sure you have your brand colors or your brand or something like that on there, like especially in the thumbnail, because then that's what ties in all the videos. Otherwise, people are going to go to Google and see all these videos and be like, cool, but not understand they're all from you. So you have to have that tie in when creating your videos too. So, yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned that, and then this is good content for anyone who shoots a YouTube video and wants it to rank better. What are the other pieces I understand, which I like had researched YouTube so much and then fall off of it. And now I'm just like, I hope the videos do well, but it's not my part of it. But so for my existing understanding, I mean, obviously back in the day, it was just hammer everything with keywords. And that was that way
Yeah.
with like
Yeah.
a website and everything. But so you talk about a topic, you title it about a topic. Does YouTube pull any like actual information about the video through AI through a thumbnail alone? Okay.
Yeah. So what YouTube does now is in the years ago, you would type in the keywords you want to rank for and it would try to rank for those.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have to do title, description, have something in the thumbnail. But the real important part is that YouTube is listening through and watching your video, right? And they're creating subtitles for it. But basically, it takes that subtitle sheet and spits out the SEO stuff for that. So in the video, make sure you mention, like if you're trying to rank for a landscaper in Cape Coral, make sure you're like, hey, I'm Jacob, landscaper in Cape Coral. And, you know, if you're looking for a landscaper in Cape Coral, and we're one of the best landscapers in Cape Coral, I mean, obviously don't like stay it back to back like that, but like mix it in throughout the video so that it like YouTube's algorithm knows like, okay, this is what they're trying to rank for, you know?
Yeah. It
I mean,
reminds
I
me
guess
of
you could do that.
Super Troopers, the meow game. How many times can
Yeah.
you say meow? Yeah, no, okay, so that was what you hit on the other parts. I didn't know if it did it from the thumbnail, because I know you can kind of hit on it with everything. The title, the description, the in the content of the video, all these different little pieces. And that's where what you said, like the description. That was always my biggest hang up when I started trying to like come up with a process to do the YouTube videos myself, was where's that description come from? And then I started letting them transcribe on YouTube and then dropping that into AI. And that was before I had another tool that would record and have the transcript. So there's also a lot of tools that you can
Correct.
find that
Yeah.
can make this easier.
Yeah. I
Okay.
personally, I just take the title, like,
hmm
and pop it into Chat GPT, and I'll just literally be like, I'm making a YouTube video titled this, give me a description, and then there you go.
Yep. Okay. And so what I was doing when I was doing all of them is I was taking the transcription as soon as it transcribed out of YouTube. I was putting that whole thing in and saying, make a brief description based off of this. And I would talk about those things in the video, but then the context would be very on point to that. But yeah, either way, it's going to be able to give you something that's going to expedite that for you. You mentioned on LSA, you mentioned something that I thought, from my being the user and the service company with that, one thing I did realize is once you really get it humming, it can be super hard to keep up with at times. And so I would see myself going through a week's worth of calls, and then I kind of saw where there was a hole in me doing that, and
Hmm.
we probably weren't doing as well with it overall. And now having Gene back in place, he loves the thing. He mans it. He messages. He goes through the calls daily. Like, he's always
Yeah.
listening to stuff. He's like, what was that transaction? Why'd we say that on that call? Like, all these little things. And so that was more just filler, that it's a great tool. I do know that you need to shore up a process, especially if you're just firing it up for yourself, of I'm going to listen to those at least weekly or every few days.
Correct. Yeah. And so I would have that process in place because I've had clients where basically they don't pick up the phone, right? Or like they'll have a period where they're picking up the phone and answering messages right away, like really well. And then they'll go like a month or two, like without doing that. And then Google just basically shuts off their account. And there's no reviving it at that point. So like you literally
Mm,
have to create a new account and like try rebuilding it up again and stuff. So like it's super important to make sure you get that stuff dialed in, and keep it dialed in.
yeah. And it's not just instant to start up one of those accounts either. There's insurance, there's
Hmm.
business licenses, and all of this other stuff that you have to provide just so you can have that. I think, and then it's crazy that, like, so in that time gap from when I remember, like, having a cigar hangout scheduled with a friend where we always had dinner first. I
Dude,
don't
I
even
love
know
that it's
why.
different every single time too.
I don't know why. So yeah, unless you're seeing the video, this thing automates all kinds of crazy shit. I am for sure gonna figure out how to turn that off for the next
Yeah,
podcast I shoot on here, because it takes all my bandwidth away when there's balloons on the screen, or there's a thumbs up,
does
or
it do it?
there's a fireworks show going on behind me. But so I was literally about to go in for a meal, and I just had found myself like being in a total pinch of where I was any minute I could get to listen to these calls, verify these recordings, and do that, I was doing. But I remember the difference between then and now. Like, I just called you or messaged you or emailed you the other day. I'm like, hey, dispute looks way different. It used to be
Yeah,
clear as
yeah,
day, dispute, and now it's like dissatisfied with the call. And so
yeah.
is it any harder? Like, if you're very dissatisfied and you type in there, or however that process is now, is it any harder to get them to dispute them, or is it exact same? Exact same.
I would say it's like say exact same, but I would say it's about the same. It's just they change up the interface a lot. The only thing that's really hard with LSA is like it's depending on how competitive your market is, right? So like I've seen markets where there's like 30 plus companies trying to go after the same thing on LSA. And it's like it's very unlikely you're going to get to the first spot in that instant. Yeah, so many factors, and that's where in a situation like that, I would say like go do Google search ads, but if you're like a smaller town and there's not like, there's some competition, but you're noticing there's like two people running Google local service ads or like a handful, like, dude, it's so easy to get in that first spot. And it's like turning a faucet on, it's just like constant leads.
We get at least three, at minimum 3 calls a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and then some days we get 8 calls and
Mm-hmm.
messages.
Mm-hmm.
So it is great, and it is something that I feel like everybody should be leveraging for their business.
Yeah.
So
Oh, totally.
as we kind of get closer to wrapping this up, what do you think if somebody was to have, and you kind of went over these, what are the, your top things that you think you should be do if you gave a hierarchy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I know that there's even more marketing outside of that. There's door hangers, there's yard signs, there's
Yeah.
every door direct, there's having your trucks wrapped, there's all these things. What do you think your top, like maybe 3 are that, hey, I would do these right now if you ultimately you have to have these in place to be doing well. I do these 3 things or these 5 things. What do you think that is?
Yeah. 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 Okay. So bare minimum, like absolutely have to do these things. I would say your website needs to look like top notch, right? People can smell like BS from a mile away, right? And so like even if you're like the best company on the planet, if your website isn't reflecting of that, people are going to look at it and go, oh, well, if they can't do a great job on their website, then guess their service isn't that great. It's kind of like walking into like you walk into a store downtown and you're just like, I'm going to buy like a really nice suit or something like that. And you like walk into a place and it's like a complete dump, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus a place that's like top notch and you might be spending a little bit more, but it's like top notch. It's like that's where I want to go to get my suit. So think of it like that. So I would say website, say your branding, right? So like a big part of it's like your color palette, right? So like how do I stand out in the community, right? So let's look at every other, not just competitor, but like every other company that's out there. Like we have an HVAC company up where I live. All their vans, all their branding are red. So it stands out across the board from everyone. And there's even another competitor for them that's like an HVAC company that uses a red van, but like everyone thinks it's them because it's a red van. And so,
Mm.
yeah, it's crazy. So your branding is another huge piece of it, right? So trucks, your uniforms, all that, your hats, all that stuff. So website branding, and then I would say Google local service ads. And if you could like dial in those three things, like you'll have a really good business. And
Okay.
then everything else is just more of like a cherry on top type deal, like keep pushing the limit type deal.
Yeah. And it's funny. You would think that today we wouldn't even have to say that the top is your website. But you
Yeah,
still do, because there's still people that don't have them. And that's not a knock to not having them. But like the more I've been involved in marketing and the more I've seen, it's just so crazy that the website is just like the conduit for everything, right? Everything flows
correct.
to
Yeah.
it. It points it all back to your website, or it points it all back to generating a lead in your CRM or whatever that is. And without that touch point, right? Like where does if you have a door hanger, where does it go from there? It's like, yeah, there's a phone number, but like there's also a website. So where do they go to learn about you? And if there's nowhere to learn about you, then they're stuck to the ether of whatever's on the website about you or whatever somehow got posted
And
on
that's the thing
Facebook
is
or
like,
whatever it
yeah,
is.
and people want to do the research, right? So you might even have like, you might have a website and it's not that great, but like you put that door hanger up and it might look amazing, but like they go to your website and it's just like, this guy doesn't look like he knows what he's doing,
Yeah, it
like,
looks very, very questionable. Or you've got
yeah,
the dreaded, there is a group, there's a business, Google My Business page that's got the reviews turned off or something.
yeah, 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 yeah. And it's just like, well, we're not going with that guy because like the research process for a customer now is like through the roof, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like reviews, good photos, videos, nice website, your branding, like all of it needs to be dialed in to be able to bring leads in at this point.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can get referrals from people, and that's fine. Anyone can do that. But this other stuff is like, you have to get yourself into the brain of like, what is my potential customer thinking when they're looking at my stuff?
Heck yeah. So, okay, well, to wrap this up and to like connect people back to you, what all services do you offer or can offer, whether that be if accounting is something you're looking for, the marketing side, what are all those and the best ways to connect with you?
Yeah. So I would say the first thing is my YouTube channel. So Mike Tandarich on YouTube. I put up marketing strategies, advertising strategies. So if you're looking to like grow your business yourself, fantastic area to start. Yeah. Second thing is my marketing agency, We do custom website builds and digital ads. So Google ads, Facebook ads, kind of all the stuff we talked about today. So that's tandrichgroup.com. Then the last is my accounting firm. That's accounting house. It's tchaccounting.com. If you need your taxes done for 2024 or bookkeeping or payroll or any of that stuff, love to help you out there too.
Awesome, man. Dude, well, hey, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you, brother.
Of course, man. Anytime. I appreciate it.